everyone, it's Petty, the Ministry Coordinator at Our Lady of Lourdes. And today we have with us Lynn Baird, the Events Coordinator at Our Lady of Lourdes. She's a wonderful friend and a wonderful artist as well. In fact, she owns this studio, Outside the Box Studio. It's a little home studio she built last year. So Lynn, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Oh, we're so glad you're here. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your studio, what you do here.
So like you were saying, I'm the events coordinator at Our Lady of Lourdes, but I also have taught elementary art for 32 years.
Amazing.
So in May, I retired from my public school teaching job and I opened this little studio. So a little bit about my studio is all these cabinets that are in my studio used to be in my old classroom. But the school built a whole brand new school the year before I retired, and so when I retired, I was able to purchase the cabinets and then recreate this space to make it a studio. All repurposed items. Yeah. So the floor is from an old CrossFit gym that we used to go to. The sink I pulled out of a dumpster, but it's just a great place to come and make art and to form a little community.
And you teach classes here, open to the public, right?
I do teach classes here. Yes.
Very cool. Tell us a little bit. So I should say something. You can see we're standing fairly close. We've kind of been in a quarantine bubble together this whole time. We're in the same pod. So that's why we feel safe being closer during this video. But you found ways to teach classes with social distancing. How has that been going?
Yes, for sure. So everyone who comes to my studio needs to wear a mask, bring a mask. Obviously, I sanitize in between each class. I have this awesome glass garage door, so I can keep this open and then my back door open, so there's always a cross breeze.
Awesome.
And then there's 4 big tables in here, and so people can remain 6 feet apart while still having, it's still intimate enough space that they can have community but create art.
Awesome, very cool. Today, Lynn has agreed to show us a little project that you guys can do at home. So tell us quickly just what we're gonna do today, and then I'll jump behind the camera and we'll get started.
Okay, so we're gonna be making something called junk journals. That's not a very glamorous name, but the reason why they're called junk journals is because a lot of us like to collect things. Yeah. And probably to the average person it would be thought of as junk.
Sure.
But to people who have an artful eye, it would definitely be more than junk. So, but we call them junk journals. What you're going to be doing is deconstructing a hardbound book and then reconstructing it to make it into something that you want to use it for.
Awesome.
And these journals can be used for prayer journals or reflection journal or to fill with artful moments. I have a really close artist friend who created a junk journal, and every single day she's putting an artful entry into it. Okay. She's done some of the most amazing pages of her book.
I've always loved what I was telling you before we kind of started. Like, I love collaging, love collecting papers, so I love this idea of like having one place for it, very intentional place for it.
Yes, and now you can tell somebody who called your pile junk that actually you're saving it for a project.
There's a reason.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay,
Yes.
so we're gonna dive on in. I'm gonna jump behind the camera, so we'll be right back.
Okay. I'm going to start by showing you some of the things that I have collected over time, and then you'll know that this is an easy process of collecting things. So this is a little piece of tissue paper. I was that person who saved all the wrapping papers, and my daughter did that too when she was little. Bring home all the birthday wrapping paper. Little watercolor papers that my students made, but they were just too precious to throw away. I love writing letters, but I love doing it on grid paper. I have old maps. I have pages from books that I deconstructed. Old pattern pieces from sewing. I love to sew. Who remembers these? These things caused me stress when I was little. But I think it's funny because this is called a holy card.
Nice. Right on theme.
Yes. There's like no limit to what you can or can't use.
And you have all different kinds of like textures of papers, thickness of papers, anything goes.
Yes. Don't be afraid to put things in that are clear, stuff that doesn't make sense. It doesn't all have to make sense in your journal. So here's a couple tools that you're going to be using. I have a bone folder. Okay, but you could use a pencil or a marker or a butter knife. Okay. It doesn't really matter. An X-Acto knife, you'll probably need one of those. This is called an awl. Okay. It's basically a pointy tool, but you could also use a drill. Oh, okay. So, and then just for fun, I have some washi tape, ruler, pencil. I have a paper cutter, but you can just use scissors if you want to. Great. There's no big rhyme or reason as to what you have to have. The first thing that you're going to be doing is you're going to find a book that you love. So probably a lot of us already have a little stash of hardbound books that we're like, I don't want to get rid of this, but I don't know what to do with it. This hardbound book, I love retro things. Yeah. And this cover was just so amazing. And I kept this almost my whole entire teaching career. So fun. So when I left, I took this book because it was from a discard pile in the library. Nice. And I brought it home, and this was my first junk journal that I made. Awesome. So let me show you a little bit of what a junk journal looks like. It's just putting together different kinds of papers. I kept some of the pages from my book. But you get the idea. Also, I want you to notice in the book, when you have a chunk of pages like this, that's called a signature. Okay. So right here is a signature. Okay. So you can see this book has 3 signatures. Yes. So that's what we're going to be working on today, is building a signature. Perfect. But because I'm turning this one into a prayer journal, I have saved this book by Fulton Sheen called That Tremendous Love. Oh, I love that. That is perfect. So you're just going to take an X-Acto and you're going to cut right along this front page. Okay. Because basically what you're doing is breaking the binding. So I know lots of people are probably cringing because of it. But just remember, you're going to make it into something that is more your own. Here we go. Okay. So you can use some of this if you love parts of it, or you can ditch it if you don't want to. But now you can see this is the back binding of my book. Okay. And my signatures can't be thicker than this. Okay. So I have to be careful how many papers I put together. You'll notice on this book, you can tell by the stitches, 1, 2, 3, I have 3 signatures. Okay. So I don't know, I just don't think I would do more than that unless you're doing like super thin papers. Okay. Yeah. I think 3 signatures is probably plenty. Okay. And what I have in this pile is just quite a variety of things that could be good in here. Don't forget to put enough regular paper in here too. Okay. Because if you're going to turn this into like a prayer journal, you don't want it to be all fancy papers, because where are you going to write in it? Perfect. So this was just an old sketchbook I found at, well, it was like a advertising book. Yeah. I found somewhere that I cut it up to make pages, and that's blank enough. Okay. Okay. So when you say regular paper, you mean in terms of like almost like printer paper-ish? Yeah, like thickness. You can use writing paper. You could use watercolor paper. You could just use different types of thicknesses of paper, but enough blank pages. I measured how big my book was. The full the full cover page. Okay. And I then came in a 1/2 inch all the way around. Okay. Because sometimes your pages get carried away and you're not a machine manufacturer, so we're not as precise about it. And then you get it all done and all your pages are sticking out at the end. Okay. Which, if you like that look, that's fine too. Go for it. There's not a problem with that. Okay, so I'm going to do a couple pages at a time because this is really thin paper. Okay. But when you get to thicker paper, you're just going to do one. And you want to get everything lined up really well. And then I like to give it a good little crease and then use my bone folder to really crease it. So over here you'll see I have a pile of things. Like I sewed this piece on, and this is from that little retro book. I just loved the way it looked. And then I made one page short and the other long, and that's totally fine in your little book. Okay. Then, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna start stacking up your pages.
Okay.
So you would lay your bottom page open,
Okay.
like this, and then you're gonna line everything up in the creases.
Okay.
Okay, so I think that's about all I'm going to put in my signature.
And just estimate about how many pages do you think that is?
Probably 10.
Okay.
So I created this little grid just out of a piece of scrap paper, and I made it bigger than my binding.
Okay, wider than the binding.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, wider than the
Perfect.
binding. Yes. But then what I did was I measured how wide my actual binding is.
Okay.
Okay. Then I folded this paper in half, and then I folded it in fourths, like that.
Okay.
That way I have 3 measurements because
Okay.
I'm going to make 3 signatures.
Got it. Okay.
So, but I only need this middle row of holes to sew my signature together.
Okay.
So what I like to do is lay this little guy here and here. And you'll need like a cutting mat or even like an old phone book, something that has cushion to put underneath here, because you're going to take your awl, and I'm just making sure that's on the binding, and you're going to poke through This is where you can also use a drill.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay, so can you see those holes?
Yes.
And then they also went all the way through.
Perfect. And is there any rhyme or reason to the number of holes you put down the spine? It looks like there's 4.
4 is
Just works.
yeah,
Okay.
it's a good number. So the next process is you're going to sew your little signature together. And I just stuck a clamp on here so that my holes stay lined up.
Great.
This is just a regular needle that I can get embroidery floss in. You could use dental floss.
Nice.
This is a waxed linen if you want to. This is often what bookmakers use. The nice part about waxed linen is it slides through your pages really easy.
Okay.
And when you go to tighten it, it grips itself.
Okay. Nice.
So, in case you don't have a buddy to hold your knot. Okay, so I'm gonna go down through one of my center holes.
Okay.
I'm gonna go up through the end. I'm just making sure the string stays enough to tie it.
Okay.
I'm gonna go all the way across to the bottom hole. And then I'm gonna go back through this little middle hole.
Perfect.
So you're gonna get these all sewed up and tighten all your threads so that your signature doesn't get wobbly.
Okay.
And then I'm going to cut this a little bit. And then I like one string to be on this side of the middle string and the other one to be on the other side so I can include it in my knot. And then you're just gonna tie it off. If you have a friend nearby, they can hold where your knot is. If not, you just have to be there. Yes. There you are. There's a whole signature pages. So then you're gonna make 2 more of those.
Okay.
And that's when you're gonna use the little template, and you're gonna lay it right here in the center. You're gonna use either the awl or a power drill, and you're gonna drill in all 3 sets of holes down the binding. So you're gonna drill here, here, here. That's the middle signature.
Okay.
And then here, 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 and here. That's for the right signature. And then again on this side for the left signature.
Okay.
Then you're gonna start with 1 signature at a time. I usually start with my middle one.
Great.
And you're gonna lay this open, and you're going to re-sew it exactly as you did before.
Okay.
And that will hold your whole book into the binding.
Perfect.
Okay. This book, you can see the binding. So you'll have 2 sets of stitches
Okay.
for each, well, you have 2 rows, but 1, 2, 3, because I have 3 signatures.
Great.
Okay,
And all of that sewing you just did by hand.
all by hand.
Perfect.
It's just important to get your knots tight, but
Okay.
other than that, you're good
Good.
to go.
Awesome.
Here's the center. So you can see where I've sewed this.
Great. Perfect. Well, that's wonderful. We're going to try to find a little YouTube video that Mary Lynn didn't herself make, but that can just help walk you through the final binding into your book in case you need more help. Thank you, Mary Lynn, for your help and your time
Thanks for
today.
coming to my outside the box studio.
Awesome. And we'll link to your studio information as well. So if people want to reach out to take a class, they can come find you.
That'd be great.
All right, awesome. Thanks everyone for joining us. We hope you enjoy this at-home fun activity. Get those prayer journals going. You can bring them to Mass when you come to Mass, and just journal and be with God for a little while. So thank you all so much, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.